Thank you for signing up for the free trial of QuickLaunch at Preferred Strategies. This report here is an example of the General Ledger Power BI template that's delivered as part of the QuickLaunch package, built on top of the J.D. Edwards GL with surrounding tables around the account, the company, the business unit, subledger, and so on. So we're going to walk through this report. It's a visual representation of what would normally be in a income statement or profit and loss statement. So first thing you want to do from the General Ledger tab is you can go ahead and expand these, enter full screen mode in the lower right-hand corner. And this is, you can see there's 1 of 8 at the bottom. We're going to start at tab 1 and then click all the way to page 8 just to kind of show you some of the different functionality that you can perform here. So what we're looking at this first page is kind of a key metrics tab. So some of the key metrics of a P&L, revenue, gross profit, percent, net income. We also have the time-based calculations as well. So revenue month to date, quarter to date, year to date. And then you can notice we have, 6.8 million in month to date revenue. 5.8 would be the budget. So that would be the month to date budget, and 6 million might be the prior year actuals. So the way that this works, if you have multiple goals, in this case, our targets, if you're green, that means you're better than both goals. If you're red, you're worse than both goals. And if you're yellow, you're in between the 2 different goals that you have. So we've also just, in this sample data set, mocked up a few what might be either some category codes on the business unit or company. In this case, we got region, division, and product line as an example here. This is now consolidated all data up. And if I wanted to just select maybe one specific region like Central, I could select Central. It'll filter down all those key metrics down to just the Central region. If I choose Northeast, right, now you can notice here we've got some more variability. Some things are red, some things are yellow. And what this is telling me is that my month to date and quarter to date, now you'll notice it's 2019 period 8. I can maybe flip this to period 9. In this case, you can see my month to date gross profit is actually yellow. I'm between, I'm worse than my budget, but better than prior year. Whereas I'm still quarter to date, I'm still better than both goals, but year to date, I'm still slightly behind my budget, right? And then my gross profit percent, I'm negative across the board. You can also select multiple of these. So I can look at Northeast, just home appliances. We can also hold control and select, multiple values within one as well. So this is an idea of how you might want to slice and dice the data. Again, with Power BI, this kind of takes different flavors of the report very quickly and dynamically with these dynamic slicers or filters. If I go to the next tab, right, in this right now, because we've got Central and Home Appliances, this will be filtered down to that. So let's go ahead and remove a couple slicers just to kind of give a bigger picture. Right now, we've added another slicer up here, month to date, quarter to date, year to date. So this is now calculating revenue, gross profit, expenses, net income, month to date. If we wanted to see this recalculate quarter to date, we could choose quarter to date or year to date. And now it's going to give us that kind of year to date calculation. Here we've got gross profit. I can see that I'm, slightly better than prior year. Here in Blu-rays, if anything is behind, like printers, right? We can actually right-click on this and drill down. And it'll take us down to whatever the next category. We can drill back up, again, pick on another one and drill down. So that's an example how if a report has been defined in a visualization to have a hierarchy, you can drill through that hierarchy as I've just demonstrated. Let's go to the next tab. In this example, we've got a whole tab dedicated to analyzing revenue. So this would be, here's just maybe a gauge, right? There's a year-to-date revenue. Here's a breakdown by product. Here's maybe a trend. Again, flipping it back to month to date will give us our trend each month on its own scale, which kind of, rather than seeing a trended report, this is kind of just showing each month on itself. So I can see which months I'm better than prior year and which months I'm worse. This is, again, an example where, each of these tabs with our QuickLaunch, it can be completely customizable to meet your specific requirements or how you want to set it up. The next tab, maybe again, dedicated to analyzing something similar, but more around gross profit. And now we're going to spend a couple more minutes on this tab. This is kind of maybe how we might analyze some expenses. And a lot of companies might have fewer managers that manage the full P&L from a revenue, gross profit, and net income perspective. but a lot of people have to, several managers that are responsible for managing their expenses, even if it's at a department level. So in this tab, again, we're going to flip this back to year-to-date. So we're looking at year-to-date expenses, and this is now going to be consolidated as a whole. If I wanted to filter down to one division, I could go ahead and select those as we've already shown you before. But right now, let's look at a couple of the elements in this report. So we've got here, this is our year-to-date actual expenses for SG&A, and we've got $7.4 million, let's say, in our year-to-date actuals. My goal or my budget for year-to-date would be 6.32, so I'm spent more than my budget, which is why I'm red. I'm actually 17% more than my budget. This other calculation down here, projected, is 9.7 million. So what is that really calculating? What this is a calculation inside of our QuickLaunch that we have built that does not exist in J.D. Edwards. And what that calculation is doing is taking 9 months of actual, if I've got selected period 9 months of actuals, so year-to-date actuals through 9 months, plus my remaining months of budget, so 10, 11, and 12 would be budget. If I blend that together, I'm going to end up the year at 9.7 million. So if I hit my budget for the rest of the year, I'm going to end up at 9.7 million. Our total year budget was 8.6 million, so I'm going to be almost, over $1 million more than my budget. My prior year actual is 8.7. Now, if I go back and flip this to period 6, this is recalculating. Is this now at 6 months of actuals plus the remaining 6 months of budget? Okay. So if I wanted to see, and this is a waterfall chart, normally you'd see things in green if I had some expense categories or groupings that were better than prior year. In this case, all of our examples we've spent more, and so that's why everything is red. Normally you'll get a mix of red and green. If I want to drill down deeper on this, again, if I mouse over that before I drill, you'll see a pop-up. So we can see here our variance. This is a waterfall chart based on the expense variance. We've got almost $400,000 overage on our variance amount here. We've got 2.7 million in actuals, 2.3 million in budget. So let's drill down on that. So if we right-click on this and we drill down, we've actually defined this next hierarchy to go down to the object account. Okay, so this is a J.D. Edwards object account field. We could actually have this go down even deeper if I wanted to drill down on one of these. We can drill down to the business unit or the company or whatever we've defined as that hierarchy. And we're not, in this example, this is a completed report that now I'm kind of navigating this as a consumer. When you get into the full-fledged free trial, you'll see how you can do some ad hoc and even make changes to a lot of these charts as well. So right now, I can see all these different breakdown of the object accounts, and if I go over here and look at like maintenance and repair. So we're $40,000 over our budget in maintenance and repair, but you'll notice their actual amount is $282,000. So if I wanted to drill down to the transactions, I could right-click on that, drill through to the transactions, and it's going to actually pull a dynamic report, because in this model, we've got details all the way to the general ledger, so we can consolidate up all the consolidated values that you normally would have in a financial operating statement. That's why we can see these total revenue consolidated, gross profit, net income, and so on, but I can still drill all the way down to the GL transaction, so you can see document number, document type, GL date, exclamation remark, and so on. So that's one example how a user can see, okay, I'm over budget. Maybe I'm, $20,000 over on travel expenses this month or this year. Why, right? Rather than pick up the phone and call finance, they can go ahead and just drill down right to the transactions themselves. So that was an example showcasing how we can drill down through a visual all the way down to the most granular detail that exists in J.D. Edwards. Here's an example, again, just like the other revenue gross profit, where it's a net income tab. And then sometimes, these are visualizations as part of Power BI, but you can also do straight data tables. So this is an example of a year over year. So I can see my revenue current year versus prior year. We've actually kind of pivoted this. So normally a P&L, you would have these groupings of revenue and gross profit or cost of sales and SG&A and net income as your rows, and grouping of rows. In this case, we've just kind of pivoted them on their sides. You can kind of see going across, it gives you another flavor of how you might analyze this. We can also drill down, right-click on this and drill down one level at a time, or I can drill back up. And these other little drill paths, we can go and say, okay, let's drill, expand all to the next level, right? So that's another way of you can kind of expand them all in one shot. We can scroll down, scroll back up. And then the last tab here is an example of maybe the same similar type view that was the last page, but actual versus budget instead of year over year. So this is just an entry point. Again, if you're interested in a full-fledged trial where you can kind of get some more ad hoc and we set up an environment for you, someone will be reaching out to you shortly. Thanks again.